We're going to continue our coverage now as President Trump has issued new sanctions on Iran. We have this tweet here from Barak Ravid, pulling this up real quick, saying Secretary Bessent unveils new sanctions designed to cripple Iran, his report in Axios. And we wanted to pull up before we bring in our guest. Do you have any questions about the new sanctions on Iran? Feel free to use the QR code in the top right corner of your screen to go ahead and ask any questions that you have, and we will try to get to them as we bring our next guest in here. Now, we did want to first real quick bring up this tweet too from Fox News saying the clock just started ticking, said Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, as Scott Bessent is putting financial institutions worldwide on strict notice, declaring that any firm aiding Iran's illegal financial network will face immediate exclusion from the American banking system, saying, quote, the new sectorial sanctions determinations issued today target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines, that it exploits in other countries: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. So again, what questions do you have about sanctions on Iran? You can use the QR code at the top right corner of your screen. Let's bring in Blaise Misztal with JINSA. Sir, thank you so much for your time here on Live Now from Fox and joining us on short notice.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
And so what would you say is your initial takeaway from some of these sanctions? If you kind of just explain how they're going to work based off what we know right now.
Yeah, look, I think the first takeaway is it's about time. Iran has been a bad actor for a long time. They've used money they've earned selling oil and other forms of trade to build their nuclear program, to build their missile and drone programs, to support terrorists around the world. The United States has at various times tried to cut off their financial lifelines, but we've never undertaken as massive and concentrated an effort as this. It's about time we did it. I think it's an important step. The problem is, because Iran has been a bad actor for so long and they've been under U.S. sanctions for so long, there's really not a lot of Iranian activity that happens in the U.S. financial system. It's mostly happening overseas. And at this point, a lot of it is sort of covert, with the exception of China. China has been Iran's main trade partner. It has been buying most of Iran's oil and sending money back to Iran, either by ways that bypass the American financial system, or even as barter, sending them back goods in return for their oil. And so really the question here is not, can the U.S. keep Iran out of our financial system, out of transacting in dollars, accessing money in bank accounts? It's, can America force other countries to stop doing business with Iran? Particularly, can we force China to stop doing business with Iran? And so the real question about these sanctions is not about Iran directly, but will the U.S. apply these sanctions to other countries? Will we sanction China over this? Will we sanction some of our European partners that allow Iranian banks to operate there? Will we sanction partners like the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, that has a lot of money laundering and other things that Iran exploits that happen on its shores? And that's really the question here. It's really a dynamic about other countries. Can we stop other countries from being used or doing business with Iran?
And I think the other question, too, is what kind of pressure does this put on? Because we've been in this conflict for well over 100 days now, for several months at this point. And, you know, when you put economic pressure on Iran, there's obviously the question of political pressure that comes with it, too. And it's the United States, you have an unpopular conflict like this that the American people are raising questions about, especially with cost of living that's attached to it, too. You know, we have things like elections and a midterm election that puts different pressure on different leaders in our country. Not quite the same in Iran, where they don't really seem to care what their people think and don't seem to cave into political pressure in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that the goal of these sanctions is not really about political pressure on Iran, at least not in the way that sanctions have traditionally been used. You know, when we've sanctioned countries like Cuba or Venezuela, The goal there is to create conditions that will make the regimes there unpopular, maybe more unstable, and potentially lead to their fall. Of course, we didn't have that happen in Cuba or Venezuela, and I think that would be even less likely to happen in Iran. This is a regime that does not care for its people. It just massacred tens of thousands of them in cold blood in January. It has a long history of denying, basic rights and goods to its people. If those people are unhappy or starving, I don't think it's going to care. What I do think these sanctions are doing is making it harder for Iran to rebuild after the war. The United States and Israel spent 40 days this spring devastating Iran's defense industry, its military, and other parts of its ability to project power. And now the key is to make sure that Iran cannot build those back, that it cannot continue pouring tens of billions of dollars into its nuclear program, into its drone and missile programs, into rebuilding its Navy or its Air Force or its air defenses. And I think that is really the goal here. It's to make sure that Iran does not have access to the money, to the material, to the technology that it needs to build back after this war.
And of course, there's other sanctions that the United States is considering. There's a package that the Senate has passed on a bipartisan basis. It looks like it's hung up in the House, and that could be something that gets considered when, in fact, the House returns from its August recess. They did this in memory of Lindsey Graham, the late senator who actually worked with the Trump administration on something that he felt that President Trump would be willing to sign into law. How do you think that could impact things on top of these current sanctions?
Yeah, look, Senator Graham has been a long-time champion of being tough on Iran, going all the way back to the Obama administration, where he spearheaded passing sanctions on Iran that President Obama refused. He said he didn't want those sanctions. He didn't want that extra leverage and pressure on the Iranians as he negotiated with them. But it was largely due to that pressure that Senator Graham helped create that we got the nuclear deal in 2015, as flawed as it was. And I think it's fitting that any new sanctions package that gets passed now be named after him. But again, the issue here isn't really finding more Iranian companies or individuals to sanction, particularly now that the U.S. has a blockade in place. That means that Iranian ships carrying oil or other goods are not getting out. It's really about some of the financial institutions, money laundering, and moving goods other ways that is being enabled by companies and countries outside of Iran. That is the problem. And so that's what we need to be going after. More sanctions on Iran is always a good thing. More pressure on them is always a good thing. But ultimately, their effectiveness is going to be tested by this administration's willingness to go after and penalize the outside actors that are supporting the Iranians. And that's what I think we need to see next.
And a massive mistake on my part. That sanctions package that the House could be considering is a sanctions package on Russia, a significant sanctions package on Russia. But it does kind of lead into the question, too, which is if the United States considers to continues to put pressure on some of Iran's allies or countries that are friendlier to Iran, could that also put pressure on them as well, whether it be Russia or whether it be China? You mentioned earlier potentially going after China as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to see the conflicts in Ukraine, the war with Iran, as well as China and North Korea as all one part or parts of the same global problem. We know that Iranian drones and missiles were being sold and given to the Russians to bombard Ukraine. We know that then Russia turned around and improved those weapons, manufactured them, and was sending them back to Iran for Iran to then use them against U.S. forces and partners in the Middle East. We know that North Koreans have been fighting on Russia's behalf in Ukraine, but also sharing tunneling technology with the Iranians, as well as missile technology and others. We know that the Chinese have provided Iran with technology and materials to build their weapons, and said that they would sell them air defenses. So this is all part of one big global network that is working to weaken America anywhere it can, and we need to treat it as such. It needs to be treated as one large global problem. And absolutely, if we can cut off trade between Russia and Iran, between Iran and China, that'll help weaken each of them individually and make this problem more manageable as a whole.
And interestingly, since this conflict has begun, we've probably seen the relationship between President Zelensky and President Trump improve quite extensively, because the United States is kind of seeing how useful of an ally Ukraine could be, especially with intelligence sharing when it comes to the conflict with Iran, as well as their conflict with Russia. Now, we did get a viewer question here saying this from Jason. Do you think other countries will put sanctions on Iran? Blaise, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing the effect of this strategy. In fact, before it was even announced, we saw last week that the United Arab Emirates announced that it was going to cut off all official trade with Iran. I think largely because it knew that this announcement and this strategy and these sanctions were coming. But I think where we want to see the greatest effect, where we want to see the greatest cutting of financial and trade ties, they're not going to be so concerned about this. And I'm thinking, again, of China. It's going to take some leverage, some pressure, some diplomacy to convince the Chinese to stop doing business with the Iranians. And I think that's only going to happen if President Trump shows that he's willing to go to the mat and sanction Chinese companies if possible, but also maybe negotiate with the Chinese to convince them that it's also in their interest to go along with this.
And is it a little bit more difficult, though, to achieve something there when it comes to China, just because of the economic implications the two countries have, quite frankly, in one another?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Chinese see Iran as very useful to them. They're useful in distracting the U.S. and the world from what China is doing. They're useful as a testing ground, perhaps, for Chinese technology. And I think it's not going to be something that the Chinese are going to willingly do. In addition, they've just, Iran has been a gas station for them. They've been getting cheap oil from the Iranians for years now. So it is going to take, I think, some pressure, if not quite a bit of pressure from the United States to try to cut off those ties. And I think that's really the question. It's can the U.S. do that? Is the United States willing to start sanctioning Chinese banks or companies that do business with Iran? We have done that before. We've done that with Chinese companies that did business with North Korea, and we need to apply that strategy again.
And what are you going to be watching for in the coming days in terms of how Iran responds to this, but also what further action the United States takes on this front?
Yeah, look, I think the first immediate question is, will Iran respond to this militarily? Are they going to try to lash out to try to get the United States to back off of these sanctions? Are they going to try to escalate? Are they going to start sending drones or missiles against some of the region's oil facilities like they did previously, or ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz as they've been doing for the past couple of weeks again? Will they use their proxies like the Houthis to start attacking Saudi Arabia? So will there be a military response from the Iranians is the first question. And then I think the second is, how do they respond economically? They've been expert at trying to find ways around U.S. sanctions. They've, in the past, they've used gold to pay for gas that they bought from Turkey. They've traded with Venezuela to get gasoline and oil in the past. So what ways around this are they going to try to find? And is the United States going to be able to stay on top of those and shut them off as the Iranians try to find loopholes and ways around this?
Definitely a lot to watch for. Blaise, we appreciate your time here on Live Now from Fox. You've been very generous with it, and we'll definitely have you back on in the near future as we learn more.
Thanks for having me.